you are essentially exiled from the country. Is that correct?
It's not essentially.
You are exiled from the country.
Exiled from
Yes.
the country.
I
don't have a Nigerian passport any longer.
You don't have a Nigerian passport anymore. So, I mean, you do know there was that whole, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, I will ask it, even though I have my opinions about it. There was a whole Cameroon lawyer saying that you were exiled from Nigeria. The Nigerian government isn't chasing you out. They were exiled because you are gay. And those are fringe kind of gist. But there are people who have that skepticism that who really is pursuing you from this country. What made you leave Nigeria? What was the threat that made you leave Nigeria?
So again, this is documented very, very extensively
in the book. Yes,
in chapter 1 of the book, actually. However, so I'll just like summarize it.
A TDLR.
There's a long story and there's a short story. The context there was starting from 2019 when I set off and became this thing. I had already started getting threats already, and from very close to home as well. So one of those family members whom I mentioned in the book. I remember I think it was August 2019, it was the Salah celebration. And there used to be this family tradition that everyone would travel home to Badagry to celebrate together whenever there's a major celebration. So I had not spoken to this man since my dad died. I hadn't seen him in years. And this man came with his full official escort with the pilot riders and everything, like 20 cars or something. And he came to look for me specifically. And he said it with a smile on his face. But then he was touching my glasses and he said, have you seen the DSS headquarters in Abuja? Now, do you know that it has 7 underground stories of prisons? That with these your glasses, you're not going to see anything inside there. And he said it with a sort of smile on his face, but it was a threat. And this is someone who is my uncle, same surname, right? That's just one. There were several such incidents like that. And by the time October 2020 came around, when the events of October 2020 happened, I already knew at that point that at this point, now that they've gone to the extent of shooting unarmed protesters dead in the streets, all possibilities are now open. So if they were ever holding back before, they're not going to hold back now. So I already knew at that point I need to start preparing to leave at some point. Which, by the way, a lot of people in the media and CSO space, they also saw the same picture and they also started leaving around that time. Some of them are mentioned in the book. However, the immediate trigger at that point was, I then got information from BHM. Funny story, because they are MTN is their like one of their biggest clients. And at the time, there was a rumor going around that MTN was responsible for the internet shutdown that happened that night. That the reason people couldn't access the internet was because the mobile network operators were collaborating with the government. And MTN felt like this is reputational damage. So they actually briefed DHM that, please help us. So like the young people are going to cancel MTN. We don't want that to happen. So being a friend of the house, obviously, because I used to work at BHM, so the account executive who was handling that, she then called me and we had a conversation, and she sent through a trove of documents which had come from MTN. And hidden somewhere in this trove of documents was a statement from Alton, which is the umbrella body for mobile network operators in Nigeria. This statement was never released publicly, but it was something that they had drafted. And in this statement, it stated very clearly that the reason there was an internet outage that evening was because all the network operators, including MTN, all suffered cuts on their fiber optic infrastructure at exactly 6:50 p.m. So basically what that means is that someone who knew exactly where the fiber optic cables are buried, bear in mind it's only the state, federal government and the network operators themselves who will know where it is. Someone had actually dug up the fiber optic cables supplying Lagos and had actually severed them at exactly that point. So basically, who else would it be? If the network operators are saying it's not them, that means that it's the government. So, but by putting this information out there, you are then essentially saying that the massacre was premeditated. So then, that's a whole... So, I then mentioned this to the account executive that this thing you just sent me, are you sure you know the implications?
So she now knew that you couldn't share this document
publicly, but I then decided that I was going to break the story myself under my own byline. But I knew that the minute I do that, and I'm still in the country, they're going to come after me and they're going to say, who is your source? So I just knew now is the time
to just leave the country.
I didn't know how long I was going to live for. I didn't realize it was going to be permanent.
Yeah.
But that was when I left, and it was on the 6th of November 2020. I can't forget because it was the date of the US presidential election.
Yeah. So you're unable to renew your passport because the government has... Why don't you have a passport? Why haven't you been able to renew your passport?
Well, I am essentially what you would call persona non grata now in Nigeria. I can't... If I were to step into a Nigerian High Commission or embassy anywhere on the planet, in 8 hours I would find myself in Abuja.
Right.
So, and it's not just me. In fact, people connected to me. So, like my publisher, for example, Dr. Onyeka Anwelue, he also has issues with his Nigerian passport now, simply because of his association with me.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything,
but
just because he's associated with David Hundeyin.
Yeah.
Especially when this book was due to come out, I think some people are very afraid of what is in this book.
Yeah.
All sorts of problems.
Right. So that's. I mean, there's all kinds of angles with that. Is it worth it though? Is all of this worth being exiled from your home, not being able to review? I mean, our passports should be the fundamental, the list, that we should be owed by our country, disdained by the establishment, political and economic, from Nasco to MTN. Is it worth it, the sacrifices you had to make? Having two governments, Ghana says, the Ghanaian government said no, the Nigerian government, because Ghana doesn't want to get into trouble.
Exactly.
The Nigerian government did not say we should kidnap you or anything, so all of that. So even in Ghana, your country chases you seemingly to Ghana. Is it worth it?
Well, in terms of did I accomplish what I set out to accomplish? I did. So in that sense, it definitely was worth it. I needed to prove something to myself and to the world. I think I did that. In terms of the personal sacrifice, was it worth it? Well, that's a very, very difficult question to answer, because it's like asking someone who, if you had a child and the child had a kidney problem and you had to donate one of your kidneys, but in doing so, maybe you would end up having kidney trouble of your own, but you'd save your child's life in the process.
Yeah.
But you would then live in agony for what remains of the rest of your life. Is it worth it?
Yeah.
It's a gray area, right?
Yeah.
But I think it was worth it. I think that just for the fact that the Nigerian system has come out with this much venom against one tiny little boy somewhere who just used his voice, I think that in itself is very instructive. That's very powerful. I think one of the worst things, one of my least favorite things about Nigeria is the fact that nothing ever happens.
Yeah.
So I think that just by coming out and provoking a reaction, that for the first time something happened, I think that in itself is a result.
Right. Last two questions. People have said your attack on Kikimodi and Femco was misogynist, in the worst possible way.
Right.
That, you didn't just question her professional bona fides. You accused her of seeking sexual favors. You accused these people of, rent seeking, and these people were just trying to help their country. I've always wanted to ask you, why? I mean, you've said you choose a particular style, but do you think that was fair to young women who were just trying to do their best?
So the issue is not how it was perceived. The issue is, are those things true or not?
Well, she says they are not true.
Well,
for instance.
I've provided a plethora of evidence suggesting that, in fact, it is true. And she has provided none to the contrary. So one thing, again, one of my least favorite things about Nigeria is the fact that it almost seems as if facts don't really matter now. Right. So if I say that 2 + 2 is 4, and you say that 2 + 2 is 5, the objective fact of 2 + 2 being 4 doesn't matter anymore. All you have to do is shout back and have enough people who are in your corner. So it's almost like it becomes like a clique thing. Who is backing you up? Who is supporting you? So if you have enough people who have decided that they are backing you no matter what, then it's like no matter how incorrect or how wrong or how dishonest your position is, they just get to shout and point fingers back. So for example, the idea that me doing the story in question was misogynist. Well, what the story showed was that this person stole credit that belonged to another woman. So if showing that a woman stole from another woman is misogynist, then are we not even bastardizing the meaning of the word misogynist? Like, these are the issues. Or if saying that FEMCO did not account for money that was donated from the public, money that was in their care, which is objectively true, they did not account for it, and that there is empirical evidence suggesting that this money, in fact, a part of this money, in fact, was stolen, and this evidence is in the public domain. And to date, the forensic audit, which was requested, has not only not been provided, but in fact, an attempt was made to insult the intelligence of the public. The public asked for a forensic audit. Instead, he presented a financial statement audit, which is completely worthless. That's just a statement of claims. You can't tender it in court, right? And then you say, oh, we've done what you asked us to. So why are you still saying, so anybody who says this now, yeah, just be misogynist, you're trying to insult my intelligence, So I have a problem with things like that we do in Nigeria. Like, if something is objectively true, let it be objectively true. If it's that I have come out and I have said something that is not true, then by all means, you have every right to call me whatever name you want to call me. But if what I've said is true, and you just can't handle the fact that it's true, because of whatever clique or group or cult or whatever it is that you belong to, that's 100% your problem and not mine.
Right.